CDL Practice Test, New York, Air Brake, Part 1. Question number 1. If the spring brakes are on, when should you push the brake pedal? A. Only on a slippery road. B. Only when driving downhill. C. Never. The correct answer is here, C. Never. Explanation. Applying the spring brakes and the air brakes at the same time may be too much force on the brakes, and can actually damage them. Question number 2. You'll know that your brakes are failing if A. You release the brake pedal and your speed increases. B. The brake feels spongy when you apply pressure. C. You have to press the brake pedal harder than usual to control your speed. The correct answer is here, C. You have to press the brake pedal harder than usual to control your speed. Explanation. If your brakes begin to fade, you'll notice that you have to press the brake pedal harder to achieve the same braking effect as before. If your vehicle is so equipped, check the application pressure gauge to see just how much pedal effort you are employing. If the brakes continue to fade, you may not be able to slow down or stop at all. Question number 3. Truck tractors with air brakes that were built on or after the 1st of March, 1997 are equipped with A. An extra set of brakes. B. Voice-activated brakes. C. Cruise control. D. Anti-lock braking systems, ABS. The correct answer is here, D. Anti-lock braking systems, ABS. Explanation. Truck tractors with air brakes that were manufactured on or after the 1st of March, 1997 are required to be equipped with anti-lock braking systems, ABS. ABS is required in any other type of vehicle with air brakes that was manufactured on or after the 1st of March, 1998. Question number 4. At what measurement is the safety valve usually set to open? A. 250 C. B. 100 C. C. 150 C. D. 200 C. The correct answer is here, C. 150 C. Explanation. The safety valve, which protects the system from excessive pressure, is usually set to open when the system reaches 150 C. Question number 5. Air braking takes more time than hydraulic braking because air A. Brakes use different brake drums. B. Brakes require heavier return springs. C. Takes more time to flow through the lines than hydraulic fluid. The correct answer is here, C. Takes more time to flow through the lines than hydraulic fluid. Explanation. With hydraulic brakes, hydraulic fluid is always in the system, so the brakes will be applied instantly when you depress the brake pedal. With air brakes, the compressed air must flow through a complex series of lines, valves, etc., to reach and fill the brake chambers before the brakes can begin to slow your vehicle. This brake lag can take at least a half second. Question number 6. To ensure normal stopping power, drivers of vehicles equipped with a front brake limiting valve should A. Set the control to the off position. B. Set the control to neutral. C. Keep the control at the halfway mark. D. Set the control to normal. The correct answers here. D. Set the control to normal. Explanation. Some pre-1975 vehicles have a front brake limiting valve, which is normal and slippery settings. The idea behind these valves was to limit the air pressure available to the front brakes when driving on slippery surfaces, and thereby reduce the danger of a front wheel skid. Studies have found that this is not actually a concern. So if your vehicle has a front brake limiting valve, leave it in the normal position. Question number 7. If the brakes are wet, what can be done to dry them out? A. Use the brakes to slow down from a high speed. B. They must be serviced by a mechanic. C. Drain the air storage tanks. D. Use the brakes lightly while driving in a low gear. The correct answers here. D. Use the brakes lightly while driving in a low gear. Explanation. If the brakes are wet, one should use them while driving in a low gear. This will heat them up and dry them out. Question number 8. The modulating control valve allows you to control the A. Front brakes. B. Amount of pressure in the brake system. C. Spring brakes. The correct answers here. C. Spring brakes. Explanation. In some vehicles the control handle on the dashboard may be used to apply the spring brakes gradually. This is called a modulating valve. It is spring loaded so you have a feel for the braking action. The more you move the control lever, the harder the spring brakes come on. They work this way so you can control the spring brakes if the service brakes fail. When parking a vehicle with a modulating control valve, move the lever as far as it will go and hold it in place with the locking device. Question number 10. In which of the following situations should you not apply the parking brakes? A. If you're parking for less than 1 hour. B. When you are testing whether they will hold the vehicle. C. If the brakes are very hot. The correct answers here. C. If the brakes are very hot. Explanation. If the brakes are too hot, avoid using the parking brakes because the heat may warp and damage the brakes. Also avoid using the parking brakes if they are wet and at risk of freezing. If the parking brakes freeze, your vehicle will be immobilized. In both of these situations, use wheel chocks instead. Question number 11. Checking the air compressor drive belt should be done during what step of the basic 7-step inspection procedure? A. Step 1. Do vehicle overview. B. Step 7. Start engine and check brake system. C. Step 5. Do walk around inspection. D. Step 2. Check engine compartment. The correct answers here. D. Step 2. Check engine compartment. Explanation. The condition and tightness of the belt should be checked when checking the other belts. This falls under step 2. Check engine compartment. Question number 12. What is the best way to test if your vehicle's spring brakes come on automatically? A. Continue to step on and off the brake pedal until the manufacturer's low C specification is met for spring brakes to deploy. B. On single vehicles, continue to step on and off the brake pedal until the parking brake valve pops out. C. On tractor-trailer vehicles, continue to step on and off the brake pedal until the parking brake valve pops out. D. All of the above are correct. The correct answers here, D. All of the above are correct. Explanation. On both tractor trailers and single vehicles, to test whether the spring brakes will come on automatically, use the same method you use for testing the low air pressure warning signal. Step on and off the brake pedal, this time until you reach an even lower C reading and the parking brake valve closes or pops out. Question number 13. For a manual air tank, the water and oil are expelled by A. Flipping the drain valve switch on the bottom of the tank. B. Pressing the drain valve button on the side of the tank. C. Unscrewing the cap on the bottom of the tank. D. Turning the drain valve a quarter turn. The correct answers here, D. Turning the drain valve a quarter turn. Explanation. Manual air tanks have a drain valve that must be turned a quarter turn in order to drain the built up water and oil from the tank.